Welcome back to another clay video. Today we are going to create the final phase of Chef Saltbaker from Cuphead. You guys seem to really like the Angel and Devil picture frame boss I made, so I decided to make another one. I found this picture frame for $2 at a thrift store, and for a shadow box that's extremely cheap. Although this box isn't very deep as is, so instead I'm going to use this cardboard backing and I'm going to make it a little bit deeper by attaching it onto the back instead of inside of the frame. It looks like a perfect fit, so let's get the background image. This is actually the artwork from Phase 3, it changes slightly in Phase 4, but no matter how hard I tried, I just could not find the artwork for Phase 4. I printed this on top of some sticker paper so we can just put it onto the cardboard, fold it over, and we have our picture. And honestly, this looks pretty nice as some wall art. I might actually just frame some Cuphead backgrounds and put them up on my walls. Let's add some weight onto this glue. And a few hours later, the glue is dry, so let's remove this and set it to the side. This creation is going to use a lot of white clay, and I thought I could just use white clay for the pillars, but it would have taken so much that it's just best to use foil. And honestly, the part about foil I don't usually like comes in very handy in this creation. The thing I don't like about foil is that, as you can see, the clay gets pretty lumpy on the outside of it, but since we're making a pile of salt falling from the sky, it's kind of good that it's not perfect. This pillar of salt, which I'll show you in just a minute, swirls down on the side of the stage, so I want to add in some movement effects. Starting with indenting this huge section and then adding in some little worms, which gives us some really nice ripples in the clay. It might not look like much now, but trust me, it's gonna look pretty sweet. In case you haven't played it and you had no idea what I was talking about, now you do. We have these crazy swirling salt pillars falling from the sky with these creepy little faces on them. So let's start out by giving our faces some teeth and tons. I tried to add a nice variation of some having 2 sets of teeth, some having 1 set of teeth, and a couple different types of tons. As far as the eyes, I'm actually pretty surprised you can tell that they're white eyes on top of the white clay, but I'm glad that this detail actually showed up. We have some crazy eyebrows which really pull the face together. And here is our salt pillar. About 2 hours later, here is our second salt pillar. I baked both of these, so now we can put some glue on them and stick them into the frame. For this, I'm just using some super glue. Now we need to create the platforms that you jump on, which are broken shards of glass. So we want to just cut these up to be very jagged. I created these little glass shards and I was going to glue them around different places, but it ended up not looking so good, so I'm just going to leave that detail out. Now as these platforms are falling from the sky, they have some salt on them, so I'm creating the effect of the salt kind of flying into the air as the platforms are going down. I baked the platforms, so let's create some holes that we can stick some wires in, which will be how we will hold up the platforms. And I'm hoping, if I do this right, you won't actually see the wires. Let's give it a little bit of tape on the back to hold it in place. And now, using some super glue, let's get the platforms onto the wires. Throughout my different boss battles, I've created Miss Chalice, Cuphead, and Mugman, so for this one I decided to create another Miss Chalice. When I create these tiny characters, I find it best to bake them multiple times, because if I didn't bake the legs before working on the body, it would just all collapse on itself. The details like the hands on something this tiny are extremely difficult to make, but with enough patience they come out looking really nice. Let's start working on the face, which is definitely the most complex out of any of these Cuphead characters, because we have things like moles and eyelashes, and it's just kind of altogether more tricky to create, but I really like Miss Chalice, and I think it looks super nice in this battle. And honestly, you can't even see the wires, so that worked out perfect. Now, if you noticed in that short clip I showed you, there was this little salt shaker heart flying around, which I'm assuming has to be the heart of Chef Saltbaker. So, let's go ahead and create that. First, we're going to need an angry mouth, which is very typical for Cuphead enemies. On the top here, we have the little salt shaker. Let's create some little holes and fill them in with balls of black clay. Now the eyes are a little bit complicated. We have a bunch of different layers to them, followed by the typical Pac-Man eyes. After baking that, we can glue it into place, and that is our final detail. So here it is, the final phase of the final boss from Cuphead, the delicious last course. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I really like making these framed bosses, and if you like them as well, let me know what other bosses you think would look good in a frame. Also, at the end of the video, I'll link all of the Cuphead things I've created so far. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.